that, or if we want to send the link to someone so they can write it down after we've talked about this. Any takers? Who did it last time? They don't have to do it.
It was me.
Okay, I'll write it.
Okay.
Don't be described.
Then I can do it next time or whatever. Okay.
Yeah.
So for some reason, I always have a tough time with answering questions, but because I have a tough time focusing back to the questions when it's Elder Holland, because he is such a powerful speaker, and just he's full of love and compassion, and also has energy to, like, this is strictness of you guys need to do this the right way because we love you and care for you. So it's just really fun to listen to him speak. But the first question states of what threats to children and families did Elder Holland mention? I don't know who mentioned before, but how poverty was one, and hunger with children. I guess another threat I was thinking of is the threat of positive attitude or positive environment, because what struck me most was the sporting one, who the basketball player had to leave one team and went to another team, and when he went back to visit his previous team, they booed him. It sounded like they made all sorts of comments to him, and then the coach from his old team says, "Aren't these guys LDS just like you?" And I think about that because for me, one of my part-time jobs is I referee high school basketball, and how it related to me because I get made fun of all the time for refereeing, and you made the wrong call, and I just think of these people like, are you LDS, or what kind of attitudes, what kind of you showing to your kids how to act and behave? Because if I call a foul on their kid never does anything wrong, so they're trying to vent and rant about, no, my kid can never do anything wrong. So just that threat of accepting responsibility of mistakes that you make instead of trying to get someone to fight for you through it because you can't do anything wrong.
Okay, I guess accept your responsibility. Yeah, that's a good one. Anyone else wanna?
What did you think, Stacy?
I put down too that so many people have the attitude that children are a burden, that they're inconvenience, that they teach this to their children as they go on, instead of like he was talking, well, like the lady whose kids were sitting in the room and they didn't have food or even a bed, that they're selfish. They take that's a huge threat. The kids are not being taken care of by parents, and the parents are only focusing on fulfilling all of their desires instead of teaching them. That was one of what I got out of that one, too.
Were the parents on drugs? That's what I seem to remember.
Yeah.
Okay. I think that's something also to mention is that is a threat to families. And Elder Holland is talking about how wrong things can go in a family when minds are altered and they're not able to take responsibility and think clearly and realize that children need food and all the basic necessities. It's just I think it's really interesting to think about, or not interesting, actually kind of sad to think about just how difficult a family could be. And it makes you just count your blessings when you get things right. It's like you listen to these kind of stories and you don't feel as bad maybe about missing family prayer. It's like, well, let's contrast the two. But yeah, it's just so sad to think of children suffering like that.
I like too that he mentioned judgments, that we need to make righteous judgments and not self-righteous ones, because that can also affect families, especially if you're being judgmental of your family members instead of strengthening and supporting them. And teaching our kids to make righteous judgments too.
I think that was really touched on in that "What Would You Do" clip that we had to watch. Did you guys watch that?
Yeah.
About the father and the son that came out. I thought that was really sad.
I didn't quite watch that video because I ran out of time with whatever. But with what you guys saying, it's so interesting to look at different dynamics of family. Because now when I have family gatherings, or go to parks, I just watch how parents interact with their kids. I think it was in another class I was reading or watching a video, and the statement was, is technology serving you, or are you serving technology? As in, are you serving technology? Does technology take all your time? And it talks about how at a playground, and one of the boys or kids is saying, "Mom, look at me, look what I can do," and the mom's just staring at her phone saying, "Yeah, that's great," and texting or whatever. And I think of how degrading that is for that child, because they want to say, "Hey, look, I'm doing something cool." It might not be cool to you, but it's cool to the kid, and the parent isn't excited, then that just is a big threat to the family.
Yeah. They feel unimportant or unnoticed, or that whatever the parent's doing is definitely taking precedence over them and over because to them that's the most important thing at that time in their life, even though it might be small to the parent. It's their milestone. It's their it's their development. It's their important thing. Yeah, well, in that, what would you do if you didn't watch it? It was the son was actually, they set it up to where like the son was actually coming, out to the father that he was gay, and the people around him were observing, and the father was really angry with him, and it kind of like, you're not, this can't happen, not my son, and the people around him, they were seeing if people would step in and say something. The son got up and, went to the restroom or went outside, and then the father went to the restroom. And there was one couple that, stepped in and said something to him, like, gave the dad a business card and told him about how they could help him cure his son. And of course, it kind of made Mormons, kind of look a little wacky or in a bad light, because, of course, the producers of the show and stuff really focused in on that, and we're like, oh, these Mormons have this 12-step program of, how they'll cure these people, or, from being gay. But then they actually had another scenario where they did the exact same thing, and when the son actually left and went outside, this younger gentleman followed him, and then when the dad went to the bathroom, this other gentleman that followed him out of the restaurant actually went out with him and, said that, he had been through the same thing with his brother, that his brother was gay, and just, reached out to him and said, if you need help or some understanding, you can always call our family. And, we went through it with him, and we love him. And so then the producers and, the interviewer of the show came out and just said, asked him and his dad that was, observing this happen at the restaurant, why they did this. And the dad said, you just choose to love your kid, and you would rather not want to lose your kid and love them through this rather than lose your whole family and lose that relationship that you have with them. And it was just interesting to see the different dynamic. And I don't know, I just thought that it was kind of cool. That's what the other video was, if you didn't watch it. But that's just kind of what it showed. It showed that that family was still kind of strong, and I don't know.
And you know, there's so many ways that we can judge our kids. You know, that was an example of judging our kids that are, you know, leaning towards being gay. I mean, you could have a child who's just very difficult, and judge that child and say, I don't want to deal with you anymore. You know, you have a mental illness, you know, where you're just so cranky or whatever. I'm not going to love you. I'm not going to show unconditional love because of how difficult you are. And so I think about that sometimes. I think about how easy it is to have a problem with someone and then just shut yourself off. My oldest daughter is 18, and I have to admit sometimes I just walk the other way. I don't want to interact with her because she's so negative. And I know it's not the right response, and I feel bad about it. And it's something that I'm trying to really work on, just unconditional love. You know, just put my arm around her, even if she pushes my arm off or whatever, just do my part. And so it's just important to give no matter what you get back.
Yeah.
Great point, Jen. Thanks. It's with the different dynamics, because right now I just have young kids. My oldest is 8. And it's still, no matter what age it is, it's always that love that you need to give to them. Even, I don't know how difficult it is right now with teenagers because I don't have one. But it's just, I hear other people saying it's a challenge no matter what. You still got to love them no matter what. And it's a big step, kind of humbling step for it.
Because teenagers are hard.
I have 3 of them.
I know. I have my 15-year-old, and he is a challenge.
They say that their brains are not fully developed, so I'm thinking, you know, maybe after they finally have their brains fully developed, things will settle down and be a lot easier.
I'm hoping for that.
Unfortunately, that's always not until they're in their 20s. Is what I've read. So it's like, oh, get 20 quicker. Okay, the next question. Sorry. Asked, how does Elder Holland's description of Babylon and Israel coincide with defending the doctrine of the family in these latter days? Any thoughts on that one? Anyone want to start?
I know he kept talking about how Israel used to be able to flee whenever there was an issue, and that we no longer have that choice, and it's up to us to stand up. We can no longer flee. We have to stand up where we're at and take care of the issues by confronting them. We can't ignore them or escape them.
That was true.
Sometimes that's overwhelming because you do want to take a step back and catch your breath and go, how should I handle this? But yet you're right in the middle of it and you have to deal with it.
Great point, Stacy. I didn't. Sorry, guys. Good point, Stacy, with it, because I didn't think of that, but he talked about how at different points Israel had to flee Babylon. Now Babylon's knocking on Israel's door, type of thing, and we need to confront it and stand up for our beliefs. Because it's not going anywhere, and I guess since the church is all over the world now, there's no real place to go and be by ourselves again, maybe, so we can't flee it. So we gotta, I guess, as they put on the whole armor of God and fight the fights we need to fight. And I like how he says, but fight the fights respectfully with Christ's thoughts in your head as you try and present what you want to share with people. And not take the offense to what they say and get angry and cranky with someone.
Well, go ahead.
No, sorry. I was just going to say I liked when Elder Holland said, like, when he was talking about that particular kid that said, you know, I checked my religion at the door. And when he said, you know, I wanted to reply to him with, like, my arms around his neck. He goes, but I couldn't because then I would have been just like him. You know, I had to step back and be Christ-like and be that, you know, to keep my religion at the same time. You know, I really liked when he said that. I thought that was kind of funny. You know, he was, you know, because you don't think of, you know, an apostle of the Lord ever thinking that way, but I just like that. I thought it was pretty funny.
Yeah.
I was going to mention, so in the message board, I shared a story that happened yesterday where my middle daughter, who's 16, told me when I picked her up from school that they've been showing anti-Mormon movies. And so at school, yeah.
Oh, wow.
It's a history class, and it's American history. And so what conclusion I came to, because I was just going to talk to the principal, pull her out, put her with a different teacher. But after talking to her last night, we both think that she should speak her mind, and then we'll pull her out. So it's like she will be able to say what she needs to say, because she doesn't want to run her grade. I mean, she's a 4.0 student. She doesn't want to run it. But she's going to get all of her, you know, voice out, all of her emotion out, and share her thoughts and her testimony, and then we're going to put her in another class, which is awesome.
Wow.
And I bet it makes a difference for other people, too, that don't feel comfortable with what he's doing, even if they aren't members.
Yeah, I don't know how he's getting away with this. I actually think that there could be a lawsuit against him, because I don't think that it's appropriate in a public school for this to be happening.
Agreed.
That's crazy.
Yeah.
Well, good luck with that. I hope
Thanks.
it goes well for her.
Yeah. Keep us posted. I'm anxious to hear.
I'll post on the message board, and you know what? She can handle it. Oh my gosh, my daughter is so strong. These kids really are ready for the last days. Like, she is like a powerhouse. She's an Elder Holland kind of kid, you know. She's just got all this testimony, and she's gonna do great. She can handle it.
I'm excited to hear.
Yeah, that's cool. And that's what we need our kids to be. And I bet that goes back to you as well, because parents need to teach their kids, and if our parents aren't teaching their kids, then they probably won't have that strong testimony. That's a benefit to you too. And then Elder Holland goes on to say, what kind of characteristics and attributes can we expound on that will make us more effective family advocates? And one thought that I have of characteristics is just boldness. Boldness with judgment that is righteous, and having that ability to not be offended in the way that you express your emotions that's uncontrollable, but the chance to share your testimony of how you feel with keeping your emotions as strong as you can. Because like I said, if we don't have Christ-like judgment or attitude towards it, then we are not doing the best that we can. We can improve that. Any other thoughts on characteristics?
I had the similar ones too. I had written down that we have to be loving, compassionate, courageous, and strong.
How difficult is it at times where, the example I just brought up about anti-Mormon being shown in a school, where we want to get so mad and angry? It's like, because there's times where I get so frustrated with things too. It's like, where do you get to the point where you don't get so frustrated, or don't take your emotions out on the situation at the time? And that's something that I still have to learn and grow with. But I don't know how much or what you have to learn to do that. But
I guess the thing to remember is we were put here in these latter days knowing we were going to have these kind of challenges. And so if you think about that, if you get that eternal perspective, that this is what we're supposed to be doing, this is part of our plan, and this is what we need to, you know, overcome. I think it helps you to deal with situations better. And yes, you can say things very boldly, but I love when people say something very boldly, but they just have the most calm voice. And again, that's my daughter. Like, she's full of spirit, but she's so calm. And that takes practice. When she was younger, you know, she wasn't, you know, I have two redheads. They're pretty fiery, but she's learned really self-control, and I've been impressed to see how that's been happening more and more with her. So it's a good skill.
That's awesome. Self-control is amazing when you can handle it too. With the example like that, as well as when I'm refereeing, I have to deal with the coaches, so they might not be happy with that call. But if I get mad with them too, how much more their energy and their anger boils up and over, and then both of us are yelling and screaming. Or compared where I've learned and learned and learned with the years that I've done it. Example is, coach was really mad. I go and talk to him, and I just talk to him calmly, and all of a sudden his anger was down to talking to my level and my calmness, and how effective that was to that situation where he was more calm. I talked to him calmly, and that's just kind of like the example of Christ-like attitude. Is, I wish I could master that more and more all the time, and it's a wonderful feeling when you can get someone that's really angry and frustrated calm down, and then the spirit's there, and then there doesn't need to be some frustration then that goes into it.
And I think we could say that is a characteristic, like you were saying, a Christ-like characteristic. So we need boldness, but we need to be like Christ, who spoke his truth and then moved on. He was very clear. And I think being concise and learning how to share your opinion in a way that people will know exactly what you think is really important. And that's also another skill to work on. That's a good characteristic to have, is your speaking skills.
Yeah, that's one I need to develop, because I think I get it's so hard for me to know when to speak up or when to actually, you know, just engage. That's one of the struggles I have. You know, is I think sometimes too. I know with my husband, I feel like sometimes he doesn't know when to back off. He's like my polar opposite. You know, I think that there's an art to saying your piece and knowing when to pull away. Also, you know, like when those people come to the door and want to speak with you about their religion and promote it. Sometimes I feel like sometimes there's also an art to saying your piece and knowing when to let it go. You know, at the same time. You know.
Cool. Thanks, Kelly, for sharing that. Let's see. Now, another one, he says, so according to what we have learned from Elder Holland's talk, what kind of obligations do we have? Do we have he says, if any, do you have in a scenario like the one in the video that you guys talked about? Which, I don't know if anyone's seen the TV series. I haven't seen it very much, but what would you do when they fake out a scenario in a live situation, and they see if these people that are not knowing what this is a fake situation, would they really go into it? Like someone stole a purse from a lady, and someone actually finally came up and said, "Hey, that's her purse. What are you doing?" And like the scenario you guys talking about, the boy that told his dad he was gay. How are we going to respond with the dad? Is it yelling and screaming at him? Are we going to say, hey, let's take it easy on this boy? He just told you his feelings. He doesn't need to be yelled at right now. But what kind of, I don't know if anyone's had an example or a chance to be bold like that before.
I think our obligation is just to love and just to offer support. I mean, it's not necessarily to judge either way, because we don't know where the dad's coming from exactly unless we've been in that shoe, and we don't know exactly where the son's coming from unless we've been in his shoes. But I think what was interesting was that there was that father and that son who had been in that dad's shoes. They had been in that scenario where they had been told by a person that they loved, you know, that that they were gay and that they had experienced that shock and that, you know, that, you know, just that freak out moment where they were like, oh, what? You know, they had experienced that for themselves, and they had reacted badly, and they regretted it, and so they spoke up because they had wished that they hadn't done what that father had done, and so they felt that obligation, and they felt like they needed to tell that dad, you know, we really wish we hadn't acted like that, and we wanted to be more Christ-like, and they felt that they needed to do that, and they answered in love. They didn't tell the dad, you know, you're doing this all wrong, but they just talked to him in love and in kindness and told him how they felt, and they just responded to him in a way that he reacted better and calmed him down, even though it was a fake scenario. The dad wasn't real, so maybe he calmed down a little bit easier than one dad might, you know, in real life. But it just kind of like diffused the situation. It kind of put that fire out. And I think that in real life it probably would have done the same. And it just shows what can happen when you're dealing, you know, with matters of the heart, and when you're dealing with a situation that's delicate like that, and when you handle things in love and with the Spirit. And I think that you get a better scenario. Things just get handled in a better way and in a more Christ-like way. And I think that in Elder Holland's talk, I don't remember his exact words, but he just talked about how, you know, you can handle things in, I don't know if you guys remember his words, but just talking about how just resolving things in a better manner.
Thanks, Kelly. I want to add on what you said about you're not in somebody else's shoes, so you don't know what the scenario is like. And I think that is so important for the ability to show love. If we don't know what's going on in that person's body or their mind or what the experiences they've already had. Remember, as I was first married, and my wife and I would say, oh, my kid wouldn't act like that. Oh my gosh, do I want that? There's something wrong with their parenting. And then we fostered an 8-year-old boy for 3 years. And how much more respect we have for parents, because we don't know because he had a learning disability and a mental disability. And he looked normal from a distance, but do we know that these parents are struggling because their child has some kind of learning disability? And now we're judging them because they don't know how to keep track of their child. And my wife and I learned this humbling experience. You don't know what's going on in the boys' or the kids' shoes or the parents' shoes, so why don't we just love and care them and maybe even trying to help them and be their friend and talk to them? So that was, if we learned that we don't know what everyone's circumstances is, then I think that will help with being more loving to people. I think we pretty much talked about it, because then we talked about if you were a customer in the restaurant, how would you respond? I think we kind of talked about that too. So I think we went through all the questions about that. Does anyone else have anything to add?
No.
Not really.
Nope.
Well, thanks, guys.
Thank you.
Our testimonies and our feelings, because it's really fun to listen to. Everyone has something different, and it's just fun to learn and grow with that.
All right. Well, I'll gather this up and put it on our board.
Okay.
And then are we going to share our phone numbers on our email? We'll just email them on our Google.
Sure.
Sure.
Yep.
I'm going to send this to Robin too, so I don't know if Robin's wants to put her thoughts in too, so maybe you want to wait for Robin to put her
thoughts in there? Okay.
thoughts in there.
I'll do that. I'll wait for a little bit then.
Okay.
And that way we have hers in there too.
All right. Thanks, guys.
All right.
Thank you. Have a good day.
Have a good day, everybody.
Bye.
Bye.